So the next important thing that we need to see is with respect to sex composition. We saw density of population and we also saw population growth. Now we have to look at the sex composition. When we look at the sex composition, different countries measure differently. If we look at the world, they usually try to see what is the number of male population present for 1000 of female population. This is what they do. But in India, we say how many female population is present in 1000 male population. So differences is there in the measurement itself. So that is fine. This is the patriarchal mindset. This is what few people also argue. Even in calculation, we have set the patriarchal mindset. But what is more important for us is different areas and different countries usually have different tendencies. The main reason for this is it is believed that in India, mainly because of female feticide, child marriages, girl child being killed, all these things usually lead to more death of girl children. Whereas when it comes to natural conditions, biological conditions of women, it is actually believed that women have the capacity to live for more. They can live longer than men because their biological conditions usually benefit them rather than the males. But the social conditions is prevailing over the biological conditions, and it is actually making the woman vulnerable to forceful deaths. The meaning of this is biological things, diseases and other things, usually it will not affect women much. They are more resilient. Their body is more resilient to changes. But the biggest problem is actually with the social advantages or social conditions that prevail, which do not allow them to stabilize, right? This is what we need to understand with respect to natural advantage versus social advantage. And then they have actually given different countries where we usually identify that in countries like Latvia, there are more females than males. Almost around 85 males is there for 100 females. But in Qatar, if you see, there are 311 males per 100 females. Can you understand? All this clearly shows that wherever there is patriarchal societies, there usually the culture is in such a way that the female child has some social disadvantage. This is what we need to understand. So Sustainable Development Goal or Millennium Development Goals has always considered to empower women not only through education and other things, but also by providing health and fair opportunities so that they will be in a position to overcome this social disadvantage. The world pattern of sex ratio does not exhibit variations in the developed regions of the world, because in almost all the developed countries we usually observe that female population is more when compared to the male population. In general, if we take Asian countries, there we usually see low sex ratio, wherever we see culture or patriarchy dominating. On the other extreme is greater part of Europe including Russia, where males are in minority. A deficit of males in populations of many European countries is attributed to the better status of women and an excessively male dominated out-migration to different parts of the world in the past. The main reason for this is males have migrated to different parts of the world at different points of time, and this has actually led to sex ratio being favorable to females. And when we talk about the age structure, the second important component, we saw sex structure. Second important component is we need to look at the age structure. Here you have to take 0 to 15 years. Children, how many population is there? 15 to 59, how much population is there? Above 60, how much population is actually present? So why is this required? Let me take 15 to 59. These are the people who usually work. So if more number of 15 to 59 is there, then more working hands is there, you need more jobs, and if this people can be used effectively, they will contribute to our economy. Else they will become a burden because government has to take care of these people as well. And when we talk about 0 to 15 years, this means that there is high birth rate in the country. So in future you may see more jobs or more skill or more youth population in that particular country. We call this as demographic dividend, which India is presently enjoying. And then we have greater than 60. If there is any people who is greater than 60, the meaning of this is for them healthcare and other things needs to be provided, which is a clear indication again that these people are more dependent on the economy. So based on this, usually different countries have their own age structure, and to analyze this much better, we usually try to draw age sex pyramid. So it looks similar to this. Here can you see a center line, and on the left side you have males and on the right side you have female population, and can you see till 15 years you have, and then till 59 years, and then above that. So whenever we usually consider, this is broader. The meaning of this is there is high birth rate. This is broader and it is stabilizing over a period of time. That means low death rate. But can you see it is declining? Some people also say it has high death rate, but comfortably it is less when compared to the high birth rate. So if birth rate is more and death rate is less, usually population will increase, but it will not be to an extent which we usually look in the least developed countries, which I come. So can you see in between there is more number of population which is employable, right? This is what we need to understand. This is very, very important for us. So this is what you need to understand. So let us see quickly what exactly is this. First, can you see expanding populations? Here they have given example of Nigeria, Bangladesh, Mexico, all this comes into picture. Here can you observe these have larger population in the lower age groups. That is, can you see it actually looks like a triangle? Correct? Can you see the bases more? Can I say it is high birth rate? Can I say there is high death rate also? Due to this, there is some triangular shape that will be developed. So this is called as expanding populations, and this represents least developed countries, right? This is important for you. Then we need to look at constant population. Can you see here? This is almost same. This is almost same. There is high birth rate if I say, there is high death rate also, or sometimes the death rate will be less. So can you see this is like bell shape? Australia, India, all these countries actually comes under this bell shape, right? And then you have declining population. Can you look at the base? Very low. What is the meaning of this? Low birth rate. Can you see here 59? Here you will see low death rate also, right? So declining population. This is very, very important, right? So demographic transition, we are just trying to use it with the help of this. Then we need to look at the rural urban composition. Rural urban composition also varies from countries to country. In India, there is more number of females present in rural areas than in urban areas. The reason for this is rural to urban migration takes place among males for job opportunities. But if you actually look at the countries like United States and all where large fields are available, usually male will be back in their house looking after the fields, whereas women usually go out of their home country or rural area to urban areas in search of job opportunities. So you will usually observe in developing countries like India, female population is more in rural areas, but there usually in rural areas male population will be there. Usually we say that this is an indication of development of a country as well, right? It's very, very important for us to look at how exactly this keeps changing. The rural and urban differences in sex ratio in Canada and West European countries like Finland are just opposite to those of Zimbabwe and Nepal. I hope you understand the reason why this is different. And then we need to look at the literacy. Different countries have different literacy rates. India has actually said that if we are considering that 6 to 14 is primary education that we need to provide. So, 1 year of schooling. So, anyone who is above 7 years of age, if he can read, write and understand, have the ability for understanding, we usually say that he is literate. Right? This is very, very important for us. Then we need to look at the occupational structure, that is age group of different things. In India and other countries, we usually see agriculture, forestry and other areas where both men and women are highly dependent on, but in other countries it is mostly dependent on industrialization. So, this is what we need to understand when it comes to this. We will be going in detail with respect to primary, secondary, tertiary activities that we will be seeing later. I hope this is clear. I will be covering demography, population statistics with the help of India yearbook, where we will be seeing with respect to states. I have already told in 11th standard book also. I am telling you again here, we have to look at this again properly there. Is that fine? So, let us quickly take the next chapter. The next important chapter is with respect to human development. We need to talk about the Human Development Report of United Nations Development Program. What exactly is development and what exactly is growth? Where did this concept come and what are the conditions which we usually consider to look into these issues? The first important thing you all have to understand is the word growth and development. Growth, whenever I say, there can be positive growth of an economy or negative growth of an economy. Usually it is quantitative. Population growth, I am saying positive or negative, correct? When I talk about development, development is always positive growth. But it does not mean that increasing population, increasing income usually leads to positive growth. But we usually try to talk about the quality. So, whenever we talk about quality, development comes into picture. That is, positive growth in quality usually leads to development. Population is increasing, but their purchasing power is increasing, their health facilities are increasing, they have home, shelter, everything, that is development. Usually in the world, we were focusing only on development in terms of monetary, where the GDP, gross development, was very, very important, where money accumulation was very, very important, but they were never considering the rich and poor differences that was also growing. So, to avoid this, we usually got two important people who tried to bring a new form of development, that is Mahbub ul Haq and Amartya Sen. Actually, the contribution of Mahbub ul Haq is more when compared to Amartya Sen. And these South Asian scholars, they came together from India and Pakistan, and they coined the development. What you are seeing is not the proper development, but we need to consider other aspects also when we talk about development, is what they said. And they tried to ensure that until and unless the development reaches the common people, you cannot call it development, and UNDP also adopted the definition given by them. So, here we need to understand some of the most important aspects that we take, that is the 4 pillars of development. Whatever I am saying is more than enough, no need to read other aspects much. One important thing is equity. What is the meaning of equity and equality? Let me just give you a simple example. You actually have 100 acres of land. The other person has 1 acre of land. You are earning crores of rupees, whereas the other person is not even able to earn in thousands. Now, government wants to help the farmers. So, if government says, I want to spend 1 crore rupees for farming, and if it talks about equality, then 50 lakhs has to be given to you and 50 lakhs has to be given to the other person. But if it is equity, then government should think more about this person and help him more rather than helping you, because you are capable of handling your own things. This is called as equity. So, you should know to whom you should be helpful. For example, let me talk about the education or literacy. Whenever we talk about literacy and school dropouts, if you actually look at the figures of the dropouts, it is believed that the people who are belonging to the so-called lower caste and people who do not have proper money are the one who are withdrawing. What is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is, if literacy is increasing, it is actually benefiting those who are well off, but it is not benefiting those who actually need some support from the government. So this is what we need to talk when it comes to equity. Equity means there should be positive discrimination towards those people who actually deserves it. Right? So this is what we need to understand. Second important thing is actually with respect to sustainability. Let me just take a case of climate change. Today, if India and China are the fastest growing economies in the world, and they are emitting lot of carbon dioxide because their consumption of coal is much more when compared to the developed countries. But when developed countries actually went for industrialization, there was nothing like climate change at all. So at that time, they were free to emit as much of carbon dioxide as possible at that point of time. But today, when India is trying to grow, there are some restrictions. Yes, there are fair restrictions, but if those people at that point of time had reduced carbon dioxide emissions, then that would have not had much impact to today's generation. So India and China, if it says no, I have to emit more today, then it will have impact on Africa and other countries in future. So what we try to say is, over generations, we should provide everyone same opportunities to develop. That is what we call about sustainability. That is, use it whatever is required for you, but also ensure that it is available for the next generations as well. Then the most important aspect is, only population is not enough, only land is not enough, the productivity has to be improved. For this, skills needs to be provided to the people. Then at last, what is more important for us is empowerment. Empowerment means, if there is a woman, if I want to say that woman has empowerment, she should have the right to say whether she can have the second child or not. She should have the right to say which education or which course she has to do. She should have the right to say what she has to do with her money. This is what we call about empowerment. That is, whenever we talk about empowerment, they should be given enough choices. If choices are present, we say they are empowered. If choices are not present, we don't say that they are empowered. So, for the people who are present in the rural areas, they should have the choices. The people who are present in urban areas, slums, they should have the choices. Whenever you give those choices to them, and on the basis of their wish, if they move forward, we call it to be empowerment. These are the 4 pillars of human development. Please try to use it in essay or questions about this, right? And then what is more important, whenever we try to actually calculate human development, different approaches comes into picture. So what exactly are this? One is the income approach. So let us see what they try to tell you. Income approach, this is one of the oldest approaches. What does it say? Human development is seen as being linked to income. That is, more income means more development. Higher is the level of development if there is higher income. Right? This is what they used to say. Next is the welfare approach. This approach looks at the human beings as beneficiaries or targets of all development activities. That is, mostly human beings should be made dependent on the state. So whatever you do, it should be beneficial to the human beings. The approach argues higher government expenditure on education, health, social, secondary and other amenities will actually empower the people. So people are the beneficiaries who are actually receiving these from the government. People are not participants in the democracy. They are just recipients in the democracy. They don't have any political rights. What we say, we are talking about how much money you are getting, is your health proper, education proper, government will take care of everything. income is market based approach, welfare approach is socialist communities, which says that state knows what is good for the people, where they don't have political rights but they will be given some sort of rights with respect to education and other things. Then comes basic needs approach. So this approach was initially proposed by ILO. It tries to consider basic needs like health, education, food, water supply, sanitation and housing. Here they usually say the question of human choices is ignored and the emphasis is on the provision of this. In the basic needs approach, they will say that you need needs and I am willing to provide you the needs. I can't give you more than that. This is the attitude of this. So they say that which country is poor. So if person is considered or a country is considered to be poor if these basic facilities are not there. If these are there, then they are not poor country. So we consider ourselves to be poor if I am not in a position to purchase iPhone. So this is not what I look at my greeds, but I should only consider whether I have food, water and other things and I should be quiet. This is what the basic needs approach used to say. And then you have capability approach, which was usually done by Amartya Sen, where they say that human capabilities has to be increased in areas of health, education and access to resources, where they said the life expectancy, that is how many years are you going to be alive. From birth itself you can say, if I am born in India, I can live up to 60. If I am born in Japan, I can live up to 80. If I am born in Nigeria, I may live up to 40, right? And education, am I given education? How many people in India can read and write in adult? At the same time, I also have to see in future sustainability, will I have the literates? So I have to look at the enrollment ratio as well. And at last, how many resources can I purchase? So here I have to look at the purchasing power capacity of the individual, right? All this is important when we talk about the capability approach. Please understand the human development index which is coming is because of the capability approach designed. And when we talk about this, since 1990 UNDP is publishing human development report every year and ranks will be given. Higher the rank, that means you are performing better. So usually it will have 0 to 1. So 1/3 will be given for education, 1/3 will be given for health and 1/3 will be given for per capita income. So based on this, whoever has highest, they will usually have more numbers or more rank will be given to them. So on the basis of who actually gets more score, they will be given higher ranks, and who usually gets low score will be given lower ranks. And at the end we also have to look at Bhutan. Bhutan is a country which has actually proposed gross national happiness. When they talk about the gross national happiness, we need to talk about the people's happiness when they are living in a particular country, whether they are getting the basic facilities or not, whether they are getting the basic needs or not. But what is more important is the thinking of spiritual and non-material qualitative aspects of development, which Bhutan has actually tried to develop, and many people want to adopt it now. Right? So this is very, very important for us. Internationally, when we try to see which countries are developing much better, we should actually see that Sri Lanka, which is a South Asian country, is faring much better when it comes to human development index than several other countries. Similarly, whenever we talk about very high human development index, there are only 50 countries, high 56, medium is 39 and low is 44. So usually very high and high, we have almost around 100 countries, but still there is lot more to be done. This is the reason why you have something called as sustainable development goals, which are being proposed by the world to ensure that human development doesn't take place only from the economy point of view, but we also have to consider human development from other points of view as well, right? So this is very important. Apart from this, you need not try to see anything else. This keeps on changing. We have to look at today's scenario. If whenever you are preparing, on the basis of that, you can see how exactly India is performing. That is more than enough. You have something called as poverty index as well, which people usually try to see to show that whether the country has more poverty or whether the country has less poverty. That is exactly opposite to the human development index. If you can usually see what are these indexes and who usually introduces it. For example, human development index is usually brought by UNDP. If you can actually link that, it is more than enough, right? So this is very important for our preparation. So after this, let's quickly move to the next chapter, where the focus is mostly about the primary activities.